Welcome everyone to this council meeting today, the 22nd of May. I'd like to remind everyone this meeting is being live streamed. Please remember to have your mobile phones on silent. We may have Councillor Patterson join us by Zoom, depending, and we will take our first morning break at 11 a.m. Before we start our meeting, I'd like to invite Councillor Kaifong to open us up with the karakia.
Morena koutou, ki inoi tātou, tuitaua mai ronga, tuitaua mai raro, tuitaua mai roto, tuitaua mai waho, kia taua ai te mauritu, te mauriora, ki te katoa, haumie, hui e, tai ki.
Thank you very much, Deputy Kaifong. I'd like to call for any apologies. We will take an apology from Councillor Patterson, and Councillor Waru is just walking down the hallway, so we won't need an apology for him. And apologies. There is also Councillor O'Brien is attending on behalf of Rotorua Lakes Council, the Regional Transport Committee, just in the other room. He will join us as soon as possible. So we have one apology from Councillor Patterson and one apology from Councillor O'Brien for lateness. May I please have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Brown, seconded by Councillor Barker. Just checking there were no other apologies. Nope. All those in favour, please say aye. Thank you. Any declarations of interest this morning? There appear to be none. Any urgent items not on the agenda? There appear to be none. So we will move on to our first item, the confirmation of the minutes. We have two. We'll take the first one, the council meeting held on the 24th of April. This is on page 6 of your agenda. May I please have a mover and a seconder that these are confirmed true and correct? That's moved by Councillor Kaifong, seconded by Councillor Barker. Any matters to be raised? No. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. And then also our council meeting held on the 8th of May. May I please have a mover and a seconder that these are true and correct record? Moved by Councillor Waru, seconded by Councillor Barker. Any matters? Yep. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just recording that I did note that the Chief Executive's Performance Committee was misstated in the Council's annual report, and so I don't know if that has been amended since. It's not recorded in the minutes that it was going to be.
It was taken down as a point, so we will follow that up to make sure it was. Otherwise, we will presume that it's all completed already.
Well, if it was noted in the minutes, then there would be a record of it. I would suggest that.
Oh, so you want it noted in the minutes that you requested it?
Yes,
okay.
Please.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Thank you.
There appear to be no other matters arising. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. We will get into our first reports. We will start with the long-term plan performance measures, and then myself and Councillor Wang will cover elected member international affairs before going into our progress reports. May I please have a mover and a seconder to receive the report long-term plan 2434, approved performance measure be received. That's moved by Councillor Maxwell, seconded by Councillor Kiriopa. All those in favour to receive, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. And I'd like to invite Una to overview this report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. So, councillors, as part of the long-term plan is required to have a performance management framework or a service level agreement with the community. So these measures that are put together in your long-term plan are effectively, for want of a better word, a contract between the service that the council is going to provide to the community and gives assurances to the community as to how that level of service will be measured and what target or sort of what level that service is to be set at. The levels of service have been reviewed over the period that you have been developing the long-term plan, and following your comments and stuff in a bit of a workshop / briefing that we had around the proposed performance management framework for the 2024 LTP. These have been lodged with audit, and they have been working through the performance measures. So far we've been having a couple of queries. One has been around the number of new measures that we have this time round, and that is largely to do with the inclusion of a number of new measures around identifying customer satisfaction. So these had previously been reviewed and measured by other means in the 2021 LTP, but in picking up a resident survey, we are able to include these now into this particular framework. So we don't believe that there is any issue in being able to measure and get results for those new measures. What we've also done is reviewed all of the measures to ensure that they are relevant, that they are meaningful, and that they are able to be measured. Some of the previous challenges that we've had with the performance management framework has been that we rely on, or need to rely on, external sources for the inputs into measuring. So what that means is that the measures aren't necessarily fully in our control. And that has proved problematic in the past and has meant that in some instances we've not been able to provide a result. So what we've done is we've looked to remove those ones from the framework and include into the 2024 framework measures where we can actually obtain the data to provide the evidence that those measures have been achieved. So as I said, these are currently with audit and we're working a bit of a to and fro with them. We don't believe the service levels themselves will change. There may be the odd word added here or there that audit may require us to add in, and audit may challenge us on a number of the targets. So that is still something that is to be worked through. But what we seek from yourselves today is adoption of the performance management framework to continue those discussions with audit and inclusion into your final LTP document. So I'm happy to take any questions on the framework. If there are specific questions on measures, I will defer them to the relevant group manager. So thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Una. Any questions? Councillor Lee.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I do have a concern over the second measurement level of service in relation to judicial review. As everyone will be aware, I brought a judicial review last term, and I think there are unintended consequences with this particular measure and ultimately counterproductive to what the community might want. The particular measure here is no decision is to be overturned by judicial review. Well, if council's actually done something wrong, as the Solicitor General affirmed last term, then I think this measure would potentially...
Point of order, Your Worship. I don't understand that we've been told by the Solicitor General or anyone else that we've done anything wrong.
The Attorney General found that the Representation Arrangements Bill was discriminatory and therefore unlawful.
I think that's a matter of opinion.
No, that's a matter of record.
Please carry on, Councillor Lee, with your point.
Thank you. So, as one who has been personally affected by this particular KPI, the perception that the community may have is that council may resort to procedural manoeuvrings to ensure that that particular KPI is not breached, when in fact it would be better for council to own up and front up if it's actually doing something that is, in the last case, discriminatory or unlawful. So I would be willing I would like to move in due course, signalling at this stage that I'd like to have that particular KPI removed.
So through you, Madam Chair, just to reiterate or explain, that is the measure, the actual KPI or the level of service that the council is looking to show is to demonstrate robust debate and decision making for matters that impact upon the Rotorua district. So that is the level of service that is being sought or is being delivered by yourselves as a council. You may have another way on which you wish to measure that, and we're open to comments from yourselves on how you would like to measure that, other than no decision is overturned by a judicial review. But there hasn't been anything put forward yet as an alternative to how you would measure that level of service.
So just checking, Councillor Lee, and then we'll seek feedback from elected members, and then
Sorry, Madam Chair, can I just ask, is this question time or is this debate time?
Question time.
Question time.
Thank you.
Yeah. So just to clarify, Councillor Lee, is the measure would you like that entire measure removed, or just the no decision is overturned by judicial review? So would you like the level of service, quote, demonstrate robust debate and decision making for matters that impact upon the Rotorua district?
I think whether or not a decision of council is overturned by judicial review doesn't actually get to the level of service. It doesn't demonstrate robust decision making. We may or may not have robust decision making whether or not somebody goes to the trouble of having a judicial review. So I just think it's clunky, unworkable, unhelpful, and even counterproductive.
Okay, well, thank you for raising that. We'll take further questions from elected members and then open up for debate following that. Councillor Waru.
Tēnā koe te manukura o tērā tātou katoa. No, just a question in terms of process here. I believe this, the motion that's put forward right now, and if this was to fail, then we would go into that kind of debate, wouldn't we?
It is open for us to make amendments if required. However, understanding that may have other impacts, that we'll be approving it without being fully complete, as staff may need to further investigate either an alternative or what the consequences of removing something may be. So
Okay.
we will still pass something today.
Yes, well, my point is that it reads there that the council approves the suite of include them in the final long-term plan. That's what the kaupapa is. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Therefore, if that doesn't fly with us, then the amendments come in. Is that correct? Am I correct in my thinking?
Oh, let me just check.
Because I'm saying we already went signalling changing before we even debate that.
Yep, so it will be fine to make a minor amendment, and given the timing of the long-term plan, we do need to approve these. It'll be best to approve these today.
Okay, yeah, mine. I don't view this as minor, to be honest. So that's just my kōrero, kia ora.
Kapai, thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Barker?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just around the community leadership group of measures, the customer satisfaction. The first one is the percentage of residents that agree with how decisions are made. This is a new measure and it's going to be established by a community survey. How accurate do you think this measure will be, considering that the respondents most likely could be dissatisfied with the way we make decisions? You know, it could actually give us information that may not be meaningful. Do you see that happening, or do you think it's a fair measure?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So the resident survey, which has been reset, has already been through a cycle. The resident survey is using the electoral roll to send out that initial request to participate in the survey. So the survey is going directly to, ratepayers and residents within the Rotorua district. A question like this is probably more of a perception result as opposed to a direct user result. And the survey establishes both. So the overall survey is a number of questions that directly ask you whether you have used a service and what you think about that service or the delivery, or asks you about your understanding or your perception. So there's a mix. The robustness of the survey is, by all accounts and measures, a very good one. It aims to have a 400 person sample size, which is believed to be statistically valid for a district of our size. It has also been a question that we have asked in the past, and I guess, like all questions at that political level, does come with a bit of a balance between when the survey is undertaken versus what the community may think about the question that's being asked of them.
Thank you. I think you just got to the heart of what was probably underlying that question. And additionally also, is that 5% increase each year on top of each year? Is that how it works?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, that is the initial starting point at the moment, is because we have not asked this question of the community for at least 3 years now. We want to, in the first instance, from the first round of results, understand where that sort of baseline is, and then we would look to, put in a bit of a stretch in terms of what can the council do to actually increase that level of service by, say, the 5%. There is an opportunity each year to review the target, but not necessarily the measure itself. So we can review that, but first off, we need to establish what that baseline is.
Thank you.
Were there any further questions? Councillor Wang.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick question on process, following on from Councillor Waru's question and comments before. I agree with Councillor Waru. I don't see that what was raised by Councillor Lee as a minor amendment. So in terms of process-wise and comment, for elected members to comment, what would be the best time?
In debate, which if there are no further questions? Nope, we will open up for debate. Would you like to start, Councillor Wang?
Should I move the amendment first?
Can I please have a mover and a seconder for the motion that the council approves the suite of performance measures and includes them in the final long-term plan? Moved by Councillor Kai Fong, seconded by Councillor Waru. Open for debate now.
Could I move an amendment to this? Would this be the appropriate time to move the amendment?
What is your amendment?
That the second level of service be removed from the list of KPIs. In relation to no decision is overturned by
Do you have a
judicial review.
suggested replacement? We will need a replacement, and if it's removed, because it is a level of service that
Well, you could have a measure that nobody brings a judicial review, that you'd have a pretty robust decision-making process if that was the case. That would be a higher standard. This is actually a pretty low standard right here.
I might just get the Chief Executive to respond to that.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I think it's important, as Una mentioned in her briefing, that these measures are ones that are within Council's control. So having a measure that no one brings a judicial review is outside Council control, and hence wouldn't be an appropriate performance measure. Again, just to be clear, the levels of service need to remain. There's an opportunity for the measures to be reworded as the council sees fit. And actually, just to address the questions, this is not a minor item at all either. The point was made that we could pass, suggested that this could pass with some further amendments, minor amendments yet to come. But significant and material aspects should be cleared in this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. So I might just open up for further debate, and happy to take other items for discussion as well. Councillor Wang.
Thank you, Your Worship. In line of that, actually, I support keeping it as it is, but also actually adding in that we do not have another measure that we do not have independent observers appointed onto this council, nor do we get replaced by commissioners as another measure, in line with this one as well, just to make it more robust.
Okay. Thank you for that suggestion. Councillor Maxwell.
Yes, if it lapses because of a want of a seconder for the amendment, I just want to continue supporting what we have in place at the moment. So, kia ora.
Thank you, Councillor Maxwell.
Can I just seek clarification as to where we're at? So we've had a mover and a seconder of the original motion, which I haven't spoken to. This is by way of clarification. We've had a suggested mover for an amendment to it. Has that been seconded? So what motion are we now debating? Just clarification, please.
Through you, Madam Chair. So just to clarify where we're up to, so we've had a suggested amendment from Councillor Lee. There is yet no seconder, but what has happened is there have been some additional questions from the floor around that amendment.
Perhaps if I could...
Okay, so if there are other questions of the amendment, they can proceed. Otherwise, in order to debate further, you would need a seconder on that amendment.
Councillor Brown.
Without an alternative, I don't think we've got support. Councillor Lee, I hear where you're coming from, but without a satisfactory alternative, I can't see your support. Or what would we be supporting?
Well, my suggestion, well, all I'm saying at this point, and I'm open to suggestions from staff or anyone else, but having no decision overturned by just judicial review simply doesn't tie in with demonstrating robust debate and decision making. But the counterproductive part of it, which perhaps if I explain, will help procure a seconder. The most recent judicial review that I'm aware of was the one that I brought with the representation arrangements bill, so that was objectively unlawful as deemed by the Attorney General, so we could certainly call that the Attorney General...
Point of order, Madam Chair.
The Attorney General released his report into that bill and found it to be discriminatory. I don't know why we're debating that.
That may be a point, but my point of order was that's not quite correct. It wasn't unlawful. It was never said to be unlawful. It was discriminatory, maybe, but I don't remember ever seeing that.
Well,
yeah,
if it's
apologies,
discriminatory...
Councillor Lee, you may have an opinion on that, but we don't agree that that is correct.
Well, as a point of law, if a decision is discriminatory, it is by definition contrary to the Bill of Rights Act, which is therefore unlawful. So there's synonyms in effect in this case.
However, that may not have been the determination. Look, I want to just check if there is a seconder for the suggested amendment of Councillor Lee. Otherwise, we will carry on with the performance measures as they are.
Just point of clarification, please, Madam Chair. Can Councillor Lee please say his amendment again? It's not written up.
So just checking, Councillor, it was to remove the measure. No decision is overturned by judicial review.
You know, if the Audit and Risk Committee are going to review this, if staff can come up with an alternative measurement that actually is relevant to the item it's purporting to measure, I would be open to that. But there's a disconnect between what it's trying to measure and the measure. So what the effect of what this measure did in the last term is council dug its toes in and resorted to procedural manoeuvrings.
Sorry, we have a point of order.
This is an interruption more than a point of order, I'm going to guess.
Well, we're not here to discuss the previous council, so I don't think it's relevant. So it's a question of relevance to this question, and it also, I thought we were in question time rather than debate, so we're hearing debate and commentary on the matter before us.
Pretty tough to make a decision if we don't talk about it.
Councillor Lee, if you please talk through me. So is there a seconder to Councillor Lee's amendment to remove it? There appears to be none. So we will continue with the performance measures as they are. We are open for debate. Was there any discussion on any further items of these long-term plan performance measures? Councillor Wayne.
Sorry, just a point of clarification. What I raised before, the point I raised before, would I need to move that as an amendment? No, okay, I'll be happy to move that as an amendment to add an additional clause under the level of service to demonstrate robust debate and decision-making for matters that impact upon the Rotorua district, that Council, maybe I'll work with Una for the exact wording, but the intention is that we do not have independent observers appointed onto Council, nor are we replaced by commissioners.
And just to check, is that a entirely new level of service, or were you wanting to add that to the demonstrate robust debate and decision making for matters that impact?
Probably sounds like it would have to be another measure.
Okay. Councillor Wang has raised the addition of another measure. Is there any feedback on that? Perhaps I'll start. I understand where you're coming from. That certainly would not be something that we would ever want to happen. However, I would like to see the focus of our performance measures to be from a positive perspective, and I think that there will be plenty of warning signs of failed performance before we were to reach that point. It is incredibly rare that it ever occurs. But I appreciate you raising that. Is there any other debate on that particular additional measure? Councillor Waru.
Kia ora e te manukura o tira tātou katoa. Hey, I see where Councillor Wang's whakaaro is. However, I think it's would be covered under the current level of service that's in there, and we do have the opportunity to make minor amendments. You know, basically, if judicial review, kaupapa, I think it's a good thing to have in there. It's an actual measure that our staff, that we can actually have a measure for. Any sort of thing that takes away from our ability to control the thing, the actual measure is setting up to fail. So I don't want us to set up to fail. And I think, like I said, with the minor amendments thing, that we might be able to add something in there along the lines that Councillor Wang said. I do support that kaupapa. However, let's spin it to a more positive way of being, in terms of, you know, let's make sure our things are robust and that, so that doesn't happen. I don't know how we word that, Una and the team there, the wordsmiths and Andrew, so koe noho tāku, I support this kaupapa. Kia ora.
So
let's get a move on.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wade. I'll just check with Councillor Wang if he is okay to not have that in. Otherwise, I'd ask for a seconder.
I'm happy with that.
Okay, thank you very much for raising it. I'll ask if there are any final points on the performance measures in general. Yes, Councillor Maxwell.
I just want to ask now, now that I know where Councillor Lee was coming from personally, I'm glad nobody seconded it. So are we back to the original motion? And speaking to the original motion, no, I support the original motion that's here. Thank you.
Thank you. There appears to be no other discussion on this, so I have a mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Kaifong, seconded by Councillor Waru. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Good. Thank you. That is carried. So we will move to our next item now. We have the elected member International Affairs report back to Council. May I please have a mover and a seconder to receive this? That's moved by Councillor Kiriofa, seconded by Councillor Brown. All those in favour to receive, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. So I get to speak to this. So myself and Councillor Wang will cover this presentation, and then we will take questions from anyone at the end. So we'll take the report largely as read, but we wanted to present to you by way of presentation some of the key highlights, and also cover in more detail what sister city relationships are, because you will see at the end of this presentation and in the report there has been a request for a memorandum of understanding to develop a friendship relationship with Pingtung in Taiwan. So to start off, the Sister City Relationships is an international program that seeks to foster communications across borders to promote the mutual exchange of ideas, people and materials in cultural, educational, youth, sports, municipal, professional and technical projects. So it's a fantastic way to be able to share with other communities and other countries some of the ways that we tackle our challenges, but also some of the opportunities that we have. Sister city relationships are common in all councils of New Zealand. So we in Rotorua have 4 sister cities. This started in 1962 with Klamath Falls, and for those of you that know the Rose Gardens and Government Gardens, those were named after Klamath Falls, and they are based in the United States. Then in 1987, we established our sister city with Beppu in Japan. This picture is from the most recent delegation from Beppu, where we have myself and some councillors met with Mayor Nagano from Beppu and also their Oita Chamber of Commerce. We were also joined by Mayor Graham Hall and business leader Brett Marvelly as well in that photo. This is the most well-established sister city that we have and has had the most connections, which I'll talk about later. We also have a sister city set up in 1997 in Australia, Lake Macquarie. This is located about an hour and 40 minutes away from Sydney by driving, so very close to Newcastle. And we also, most recently, in 2000, set up a sister city with Wuzhong district, which is in the Suzhou city of China. So in terms of international travel and us going over to visit international countries, it is very common for mayors to do this with sister cities at least once in their term or their tenure. But we do have a policy on international travel within this council that the travel must align with some of the key priorities of council. So the recent travel that Councillor Fisher-Wang and myself undertook aligned most closely with the council economy priority of enabling and attracting smart investment, confidence and a vibrant reputation, and also world-class tourism destination. It also aligns with the key outcomes that we have in our draft long-term plan document, which is tourism, we are a world-class destination, arts and culture, that we celebrate our unique cultural identity. It's a foundation for attracting a range of events and increasing vibrancy, and also employment and economy. We enable businesses to grow with confidence through increasing investment opportunities. And also environment. We're committed to protecting and improving our lakes, waterways and forest environments, of which these sister city relationships are a great opportunity to share solutions on how we do that. I'd like to note that there is a cost to these trips. However, there is also a revenue stream to the international delegations that we receive here in council. So we do charge a fee for letters of invitation for them to come, and we do charge a fee for the international delegations to be able to visit us. And I want to acknowledge the councillors that do come along and assist in these, notably Councillor Maxwell and also Councillor Wang. And Councillor Patterson and Councillor Barker have also attended some of these as well. So if we look at the cost to date, the cost of the Foreign Affairs in total has been $19,442, and the revenue to date in total has been $15,200, which means that we only have $4,000 remaining for this balance to come to a conclusion. And we expect to break even on this very shortly. We have seen a strong number of international delegations come through. So why is this important? It is noted in the recommendation that the income generated from international delegations visiting the Rotorua Lakes Council are expected to offset the cost of this travel. So by continuing to support and encourage people to come here to visit us, to learn about what we do, we are able to also create an income that means that we are not having to use ratepayers' money for us to go overseas on our international affairs as well. So we'll go through briefly the sister cities that we have visited and also the international trips. So the first one was Beppu, Japan. And so I wanted to just touch briefly on the recent year's history and the connections that we've had with Beppu. But I do note that there has been an extensive history of relationships. So just this year, Rotorua and Beppu were ranked in the top 10 trending destinations in the world by tourism website booking.com. And that goes to show just how strong our connection is and our world-class experiences, in particular of a geothermal offering. We also this year hosted some Beppu performers who participated in the Rotorua Lakeside concert, which was a fantastic way to share their culture and their art as well. And just last year, we had an intern come from Beppu and worked at Rotorua Kiwi Health. And I received a very interesting presentation on the findings of that work, where he compared how we use geothermal and improvements for using it more sustainably. It also showed very clearly that Rotorua has a real strength in how we manage that resource in a way that's best for future generations as well. So there was good learnings from that for both sides. It was a very exciting time in 2019 when Rotorua helped Beppu to host the Rugby World Cup, and Beppu was able to host the All Blacks there, which was a huge win for their tourism and also their reputation as a world-class destination as well. But I want to acknowledge that over the connection of this sister city, there's been about 8,000 students being involved. And I do know that our local high school, Western Heights High School, Beppu at the end of this year, which I'm sure they will enjoy. So here's a few of the highlights from our trip. I had the invitation to attend the 100-year celebration of Beppu City, which was the reason why we started this international trip in the first place. We were also able to be included in the Beppu Hato Onsen Bukake Festival Parade representing Rotorua. Now this parade was fantastic. It was a great event that saw thousands of people attend, and we were able to walk in the parade and really represent Rotorua well, including my little baby who had just learnt how to wave, so I can say she was probably one of the best ambassadors for Rotorua on the day. On the right-hand side of that photo is me visiting a geothermal greenhouse where they grow local fruit and vegetables which supply many people within Beppu. They do this and are able to produce fantastic produce all year round by using and harnessing their geothermal energy. So a great economic opportunity. I also met with Beppu City Hall elected members, including the Mayor, where we discussed in more detail further academic exchanges and also included the aspiration for connections between university and Toi Oho Mai. There's also the potential for exchanges between key industries that we'd like to explore as well. We also visited local businesses, including that greenhouse, and tourism operators of onsen and theme parks, and also a monkey park. It was fantastic exposure for Rotorua to be able to go over to Beppu, and our visit to sister school in Beppu, which is Shosei Hamurodai High School, actually resulted in a feature in the local Japanese newspaper as well, which was again fantastic exposure. I also want to acknowledge former Mayor Graham Hall and his wife Sandy, who joined us on this trip, and also business leader Brett Marvelly, who joined us on this trip. Them, my husband and my baby, all joined this trip at their own cost. So it was fantastic to have previous Mayor Graham Hall join us because he was around when the sister city was first established. So then from there, to optimise the trip, and thank you for your support when we passed this through council, we also tagged on a trip to Wuzhong in China. You will see in this map in the red, that is where they are located. So they are our sister city in Suzhou City, and they are the original home of the renowned Wu culture. So just like us, it's a historical and cultural district. This relationship was set up because of the strong linkage and close proximity to Shanghai, and also their focus on culture, education and tourism. So we visited the International Exhibition Centre. I met with their mayor to further discuss promotion of our destinations and also the exchanges of local students and or industry experts. I want to note that our tourism market is incredibly important for us here in Rotorua. Tourism and hospitality is our biggest employer. However, since the border closures, we have seen a significant reduction in our Asian markets, in particular from China. So the benefits of being able to travel to China myself and to promote Rotorua as a destination and to try to encourage the return of our Chinese markets was very, and these were the sorts of discussions that I had with Mayor Zhu Jiaodong. We also met with the Culture, Sports and Tourism Bureau and visited the Wu Culture and Hongshan Relic Museum. So we discussed collaborating with local schools and tertiary providers for exchanges of culture and sports, and it was a good opportunity to see how they have done their redevelopments and also exhibitions, given that we are also about to redevelop our museum. We also visited Shuzo North America High School, who does have an interest in establishing a relationship with local Rotorua schools. So I have connected them with Rotorua. The international students are very beneficial for our local economy, and they are charged quite substantial fees, and we know through our experience in Toyohomai that this is very helpful to help them be able to break even and provide a good service for everyone. Finally, we also visited some historical and cultural sites that were famous for their intricate carvings. So this was a bit of a bonus trip. Wenzhou in China, we had a delegation visit us here in Rotorua, and they were interested in, first of all, establishing a sister city. I politely let them know we already have a sister city established in China. However, we could be open to having a friendly relationship. And so we contacted them to let them know I will be in China, and they invited me and also covered the costs. So again, there was no cost to ratepayers for flights, accommodation or activities. And it was a great opportunity to learn a little bit more about them. So that top picture on the left-hand side is their council. They are a huge council, as you can see by that very large building, but they're very open to international relationships. So I met with the mayor there, had very similar discussions, but I also met with Wenzhou University of Technology and their senior management staff, and they in particular have a desire to explore academic and cultural exchanges between our students and our cities. And on the bottom right hand side is a miniature version of their city. They are located right on the waterfront and are incredibly advanced in their innovation and technology, so I believe there will be lots to learn from them. So finally, before I hand over to Fisher to cover the Taiwan portion of this trip, I was also able to join our Minister of Trade, the Honourable Todd McClay, on a trade trip that he had in Shanghai. So we met with key senior business leaders from Chinese-based New Zealand businesses. These are significant ones such as Mainfreight, Air New Zealand, Fonterra, Zespri, Oyster Bay, and Silver Fern Farms and the Warehouse Group. So I was able to accompany Minister McClay and the consulate officials on visits to the newly established Silver Fern Farms office, where they were also launching a new breakfast burger product with media present. It was really a great opportunity to be able to promote Rotorua specifically. China is very significant in terms of trade for us as a country, and if you consider our agriculture economy, but also within the region, our horticulture economy, it was great to be able to express to them the importance of these relationships and also the opportunities that we have here in Rotorua too. We finally visited VX Logistics Facility, which is a significant development that handles Zespri's kiwi fruit and New Zealand apples as well. So now I will hand over to Councillor Wang. I can click it for you, and we'll let you cover the Taiwan portion of our trip.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. And Firstly, probably just start off with the main reason of how this trip started off, which was to attend the invitation to attend the Smart City Summit and Expo held in Taipei, in which Mayor Tapsell and I received an invitation through the support of the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in Auckland. It was, as mentioned, I think our schedule was already in the agenda, so we'll take that mainly as read. But it was an opportunity for Mayor Tapsell to be a guest speaker at one of the forums, which was the Energy Transition Forum, hosted by their National Development Council, as well as their newly established Sustainable Development Council. There we heard from many other city and district leaders from namely the state of New York in the United States, from the Philippines, Connecticut, Spain, Madrid in Spain, Poland, Canada, and also some of their leaders in Taiwan in this space as well. So Mayor Tapsell delivered a presentation which I think we'll be happy to circulate with, it is included in here, that talks about what we have done here in Rotorua and our aspirations, our future as well. This event, as Mayor Tapsell has already mentioned, the part of the accommodation, the registration, as well as flights for Mayor Tapsell were covered by the Taiwan Computer Association, and Council supported my return flights as well as some additional accommodation for both the Mayor and I to attend further meetings while we were in Taiwan to optimise the trip. So we could probably pop to the next one. Thank you. And so while we were there, we also had the opportunity to meet with the Deputy Minister for Environment of Taiwan, and we discussed food and organic waste collection. Taiwan has a extremely well run food and organic waste collection system in place, and so we discussed how they process that waste and what beneficial uses they use for that as well. So their food waste is sent to pig farms as well as insect farms. In return, that turn the insects that they raise into feed for animals. So it's a real circular economy going on there. It was an opportunity for us to also discuss youth engagement. The ministry has a youth advisory and development board, and they're interested to see how we engage with youth as well. So there is an opportunity for us to share with them how we do that through our youth council and other programs within our Thriving Communities team as well. We also met with the New Zealand Commerce and Industry Office in Taipei, met with the director and deputy director as well as their team, and also through their support managed to hold a presentation on tourism in Rotorua with 4 of the largest outbound travel agencies to really help sell our destination. And that was also joined by the Taiwan-based Air New Zealand manager as well as their marketing team as well. This was a really great opportunity for us to not only sell our destination, but also to hear their feedback, their experiences, or their clients' experiences in Rotorua, so that we all funneled back through to Rotorua NZ. These connections that we established and contacts, we have also funneled back to Rotorua NZ to really maximise that potential as well. Further on, on that same day, we also met with the Australian-New Zealand Chamber of Commerce in Taiwan, their board and members, which we held the meeting at the Australian office in Taipei, which was right across the road in another building. This was a roundtable discussion where we talked about Rotorua's economic development, as well as our tourism and destination as well, our recovery through COVID. This meeting was attended, the attendees included Anchor, Zespri, ANZ Bank, some trade operators, exporters, importers, and also, interestingly, a geotechnical engineering consultancy as well, which they've recently signed an MOU with the University of Auckland and also GNS, GNS, one of the Crown Research Institutes, to establish that relationship in terms of geothermal research as well. It was a really great opportunity to promote Rotorua and also build those connections, those key trade partners in Taiwan. Some other highlights from the trip. We also met with the Taipei city government, so the council, and mainly the Department of Education. So that meeting, Taiwan has, especially Taipei, but Taiwan as a whole, have a really ambitious target to become a bilingual city by 2030. So they're really pushing English in their school, in the education system. And through that meeting, we found out that they are extremely interested in setting up sister school relationships. They have currently, Taipei, the Department of Education for Taipei has one sister school relationship with one school in New Zealand, but they are really open to exploring more opportunities for that. So that would be a great opportunity for us, as well as, and before this trip, we managed to host 3 schools from Taipei that visited that would be really interested to establish those sister school partnerships as well. That was followed on by a visit to southern Taiwan by the Kaohsiung city government, where we had a visit to the National Centre for the Arts, a newly opened centre right on the waterfront for there as well. So Kaohsiung City is a major shipping and trade hub. It is, I think, in the top 15, I think it's the 13th largest shipping city. So it is a huge industrial city, but that follows on from our meeting with the Deputy Mayor and also some of his colleagues from the Kaohsiung City Government to talk about how they have transformed from a major industrial city to have their sustainable development goals and transition to a greener city as well, and the work that goes on there. We were really fortunate to meet with their Director for Indigenous Communities, and I know that Mayor Tapsell formed a really bonded, a really valuable relationship with her. So we discussed the connections with the Indigenous cultures of Taiwan and here back at home with Māori, and shared Rotorua's economic development and industries with them, and had discussions around there as well. And probably one of the most exciting parts of the trip was our visit to Pingtung County, which was just across the road from Kaohsiung City. So Pingtung County, we had a meeting at the Pingtung County government with their deputy magistrate. Unfortunately, this was just due to a timing issue. Their magistrate was in America at the time on her trade visit. So we met with the deputy magistrate and also their colleagues as well within their team. So we had that discussion around potentially starting a sister city or friendly city relationship, and I know that Mayor Tapsell will touch on that further on, but it was a really valuable discussion with them where we shared the background and the history about both our cities. That followed on from a visit to the Indigenous Peoples Cultural Development Centre, including a welcoming ceremony hosted by the Director General, who is now becoming the head of their Indigenous Council. That visit where we actually were exposed to quite a few tribes and performances from Taiwan, and that included multiple Indigenous tribes that we were able to experience their cultures and also see the similarities between them and our culture back home. And I'll pass that on to Mayor Tapsell.
Thank you very much, Fisher. Before I touch on the MOU, I just wanted you to note the very strong connection and similarities between their artwork, and this is what their marae is. So the importance and the connection with Pingtung County in particular is there is strong evidence and research that the Māori peoples some Māori peoples have come from Taiwan. And sorry, Councillor Wayne just wants to mention something.
Sorry, Mayor Tapsell. There was two other points that I forgot to mention in my presentation. It wasn't particularly noted on there, but I also managed to have a few meetings with China Airlines, which is the national airline of Taiwan, where they have extended an open invitation to Rotorua NZ to attend their annual to be a regular attendee of the annual travel expo, the Taiwan Travel Expo as well as meetings with some local schools. And as we saw from Mayor Tapsell's presentation around how many students have been benefited from that relationship with BIPU, I think there's a lot of potential for us to have that relationship through Taiwan as well, benefiting both sides and our local students.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wang. As you can see, this trip has been invaluable, not only in terms of creating a strong relationship, but from the future potential of exchanges and also of tourism and trade. So we look forward to completing these discussions with some actions that will see benefit to Rotorua, which I have no doubt that there will be. But I did want to touch on, in particular, the importance of Pingtung County. As I was mentioning, there is evidence that Māori people left Taiwan about 4,000 years ago, travelled through Melanesia, then Polynesia, and eventually ended up in New Zealand. And this has also been covered in Scotty Morrison's recent Origins documentary. I was also blown away that we use many of these same words in our language for whether it's body parts, whether it's numbers. There was a very strong connection to the Māori culture as well. There have already been exchanges with Te Puia and the Māori Arts and Crafts Institute, but I think that being able to share this history of culture and heritage will be not only of great value, but also of great interest to many of the people in both of our communities. So we have had a formal letter for a Memorandum of Understanding with Pingtung County. So this is not the establishment of a sister city, but what it does do is it seeks to enhance cooperation through the following three main points: engage in collaboration and exchange across multiple subjects, such as Indigenous culture, traditional craftsmanship, economic development, land and natural resource utilisation, healthcare services and international affairs. Point 2, promote international educational exchange opportunities through facilitating school visits, tours and outreach facilities, enriching educational and cultural resources. And third and finally, to advance urban sustainable development and energy conservation and carbon reduction through mutual learning and exchange of technologies. It was mind-blowing going over there and seeing the advancement of their technology and how they use that to better their environment and also the well-being of their people. So that is a recommendation put forward today, that you authorise me to sign this Memorandum of Understanding between Pingtung County and Rotorua City. And through that, I expect that we will give that some time, and then we will see in future if it is worthwhile or if it is needed to establish any form of sister city relationship. So on that point, this was also a good opportunity to reconnect with our other sister city in China as well, but it has highlighted that some of our sister cities have brought great benefit to our people socially, culturally and economically, and some sister cities have been dormant for quite some time. So both the sister city in Klamath Falls and Lake Macquarie, I have sent a communication to them just to connect, no intention to visit, however, have not heard back. So that perhaps reiterates the relationship that we have there currently. So I also recommend that Council instruct staff to undertake a review of the sister city relationships function and report back to Council on the future direction, including looking at the current relationships to assess alignment with Rotorua Lakes Council outcomes. And if I remind you of the original slide of the timeframe of when some of these sister cities were established, I think it is timely to do so, but also a great opportunity for us to really set the direction and ensure that we are not only making the most of these opportunities, but that we are doing it in a way that is affordable and reasonable for our local ratepayers too. Anything that we do should have a benefit back to our local people and our local economy, which I expect this review will help to cover. So, thank you very much for your patience as we did our trip around the world of visits. And I also, want to note that when we say instruct staff, that will specifically be the Chief Executive. So with that, I'd like to welcome any questions that you may have for myself and Councillor Wang. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Your Worship. So you were a guest speaker at the Net Zero City Leaders Summit. So am I right that net zero pertains to the 2015 Paris Agreement?
Yes, that's my understanding.
I just typed net zero into Uncle Google here, and it brings up the first item, the World Economic Forum. Net zero emissions mean that human activities release and remove the same amount of CO2 from the atmosphere. So I'm assuming that the previous mayor and councils bought into the council has a policy of supporting the net zero policy, does it? What's the current status?
This country was a signatory to the Paris Agreement at the time.
Okay.
Yes.
So
to answer your question more specifically, the Rotorua Lakes Council does have their climate change action plan, of which it is noted that from the Paris Agreement there was then investigations into net zero. This council as well has already in the past done significant work around sustainability and climate change, including an emissions audit on what we do. Actions from that are things such as converting this building to geothermal heating, changing our streetlights to LED, but most significantly capping and filling our landfill, which was a significant emitter. So it is not new for us at the Rotorua Lakes Council.
Has this council, if you could refresh my memory, as I'm talking this term, have we given any thought to whether we support net zero?
We as a council have not yet debated that, but we have set quite clearly in our council priorities and also our community outcomes that the environment and also climate change adaptation is important to us. However, I feel we may be going down a specific question line. Do you have any questions regarding the trip itself?
I have one more question, and it pertains to something Councillor Wang mentioned, and it is also in the report on page 22 about organic waste being used for insect farms. So I typed in insect farms into Uncle Google, and once again the World Economic Forum comes up top of the list. Why we need to give insects the role they deserve in our food. Now, are we really going down a World Economic Forum path here Is that really where this council is going? Is this where our country is going? Are we going to be eating insects instead of rump steak here? I like rump steak, by the way.
I'm not even sure where to start on that one, Councillor Lee. This trip was not in relation, and we did not have discussion about the World Economic Forum. I'm not sure where you've got that from. Sorry.
Yeah, that's top of the list there. Jacinda Ardern was a graduate of the World Economic Forum, so I'm concerned.
And I'm not Jacinda Ardern.
No, I'm just concerned that we're continuing to follow radical left-wing socialist ideology.
Oh, Councillor Lee, I think you have strong opinions that are not shared with this wider council, but we will move on.
Also make a point, maybe Councillor Lee didn't hear me correctly, that that their food and organic waste is also sent to pig farms.
I did hear that, Councillor Lee.
And I think if there is any way that we could be doing things more efficiently, more sustainably, and at better cost to our ratepayers, it is worth investigating. Any further questions on the trip? Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you. It is a question I'll ask, but later on in the debate, I'd like to speak more on the wonderful report that you both have brought back, and well done rebuilding Rotorua's reputation in our four sister cities around the world. The question I have is, in that tour that you went to Wuchang some years ago, having visited there, I can recall we had a centre there. Phil Very was with us in Red Stag and Wood first. Wood was a centre that was in Shanghai somewhere. Is that still operating? Do you know? Well, maybe through to.
I'm not sure, sorry. However, there is still a Rotorua house in Beppu, Japan,
Oh, yes.
which you may be thinking of. Yep.
No, wasn't that? There is a place
fine,
in
okay.
Shanghai that was set up by Red Stag and Phil Very. I was hoping it was still continuing, but thank you.
Thank you.
I'll come back in the debate later.
Forestry is a very important industry
Yes.
for us in Rotorua, so I'm sure that we will continue to find opportunities there. Any further questions? No, so I'll ask for a mover and seconder, and then we can open up for discussion. That's moved by Councillor Maxwell, seconded by Councillor Waru. We are now open up for discussion. Councillor Maxwell.
Yeah, I'd just like to say well done to you both. I think that's a wonderful, you've captured the journey that we supported. I wholeheartedly supported you both going, and I think we've gained very valuable reconnection with our sister cities over there. You touched on I just want to touch on the cost area, and it's so pleasing to see that we're balancing that. But for me, at the time when we did support you both going, we were almost having to beg for funds to try and ensure you do go. But do we have a cost centre where the delegations that we are meeting, and you touched on that, is going into there, or is it going to some massive pool and we just got to keep on begging every time?
It currently...
Through you, Madam Chair, currently those costs are tracked through my cost centre. So revenue comes in through, the cost centre is called Corporate Planning and Governance, and we keep a record of the revenue coming in, and that is netted off by, of course, all of the expenses that might be incurred. So it is tracked. It doesn't go into, the global expenses.
And that's pleasing.
Yep.
Because it's not only for when the times that go away, when they come and visit us, we used to always sometimes invite our own councils to functions that might have been that we've held in our city while they're here. I think that would be good for other councillors to get the feel of how valuable our sister city relationships are. So if we can keep that one in mind, I support the recommendations there because that's developing, and especially in Taiwan. It's a country in the news all the time. It is wealthy, it is powerful. So with all that, and I think the other one, if I can add, we are very blessed that we have a councillor, Councillor Fisher Wang, who is so fluent in Te Reo Chinese that we benefit. Yesterday we had a Chinese group from Shaoxing, not far in the Zhejiang province, and it was just so wonderful just hearing them relate, even though they had two other interpreters there, but it was just so good to do. Again, well done, building up our reputation in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I do want to acknowledge that having Councillor Wang join me on the Taiwan trip was absolutely invaluable. I would not have been able to optimise the trip as much as I did without his support and also his connection, so thank you very much, Councillor Wang. Any further discussion? Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to be dissenting on this occasion. I'll take rank alongside those concerned residents at Rotorua and Tarawera, perhaps, who think we should be sticking to our knitting and not dispersing our efforts further afield than we need to fulfil our mandate.
Sorry, what? I didn't catch that last bit. To fulfil.
I think we should be sticking to our knitting and focusing on those issues that we have a mandate to focus on as a local government, not an international government, not a national government. So, yeah, I'm not a great fan of this stuff.
Thank you. Waru.
Nā koe te marukura. O tira e mihi nui ana kia kōrua ko Councillor Wang. Yeah, I think you represented Rotorua well, and yeah, proud of you both for doing that. It's not an easy thing to do, go over there and kōrero kumara, I call it, talk about ourselves. And so, you know, you've done us proud, and you know, just what a great report. The other thing is to, just wanted to, it's not a question, but, you know, as the delegations, they come here, you know, charge, I'm not too sure what our koha policy is the other way around. When we go somewhere, so just something to think about moving forward, I suppose. So, you know, that whakaro, koha. This, as you know, I've seconded it, and I think it's a good opportunity with the MOU as well, to form another relationship there with Pingtang in particular, because you know I do find that very, very interesting, the history and the kōrero over there, and I think yeah, let's move on it and let's support it and get behind it, because these relationships are so important for Rotorua. You know, so might be a little kōrero, but they can blossom into something pretty, you know, substantial in time, and it already has. It's proven its worth over time with Bepu and others. So, kia kaha tātou, let's not lose sight of the tino kaupapa. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Councillor Waru, thank you, and we'll happy to take some of that feedback on board in the review as well. I do want to note, you may have noticed in some of the pictures we had Volcanic Hills wine. We also had Convita Manuka honey. So we also took this opportunity, they are a gift-giving culture, and we took this opportunity to share products from our local businesses as well, and to help boost their opportunities for trade in some of these key markets too. So thank you. Councillor Kiriopa.
Thanks very much. I just wanted to say I was sitting in alongside Councillor Kai Fong. I met with a group from Arras in France who were very keen and wanted to talk about the potential of being a sister city due to the relationship between with Rotorua, with some of our World War One soldiers being part of New Zealand forces that helped dig tunnels in Aras. And at the time I remember we didn't have a really good understanding of sister city relationships in that meeting. You were overseas at the time, I think. They were really keen, this group from Aras. So I think it's important for this review to be undertaken to see what are the benefits. I sort of agree with Councillor Lee to a certain extent. Is this, where does it sit within council? Does it sit with Rotorua NZ? Do we continue with sister city relationships, or is what you're proposing here a memorandum of understanding? What sort of relationships are best? So I'm looking forward to what the review tells us about these relationships. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Yep, Councillor, we'll finish with Councillor Maxwell, but before we do that, I just want to make a few concluding points. Thank you very much, everyone, first of all, for supporting both Councillor Wang and myself to be able to go on this trip. While there is a cost to these things, the fact that majority of these costs, including accommodation, registration fees, and also my flights to many of these destinations, it was incredibly good value for money. We were able to meet with significant business leaders, and we were also able to promote our destination in a way that you otherwise would not be able to in person. So in terms of where does this sit with council, there is huge value for mayors to be travelling the world, making these relationships and promoting our destinations, and that's why mayors not only across this country but across this world do so. We're advocating and promoting our community, but for us here in Rotorua, I find it particularly important, especially that, as mentioned, tourism and hospitality is our biggest employer. We need to make sure that we have a future here, and that the amount of tourists coming to visit us continues to be sustainable as well. So thank you very much, everyone, for your contribution, and we'll finish with some final comments from Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you, and thank you for the right of reply. I wanted to say, and you touched on it, and that's good, but it actually, in many ways, doesn't cost the ratepayer anything. That's why I was working on the delegations that we have. Our own councillors earning the funds to have these opportunities to go away and represent us. So to me, the community surely would not be complaining if it's not going to cost them anything. And that's what we're hoping to do. The other one too, it is not just council that's going out there promoting Rotorua. Community groups are. At the same time this was on, I was in Taiwan, where it didn't cost council anything, but we took over sport, culture and trade. And we mixed with Mark Pearson that met you folk, who said how valuable it was, the conference that you attended over there. And he did say when you have discussions regarding the sister cities or friendship cities or trade cities, he said, have a good thorough debate to see where it's going to align with the values we have, but not only that, sport, culture and trade. Again, I wholeheartedly support and thank you for the thorough report. Kia ora.
Kia ora. So we do have this moved by Councillor Maxwell, seconded by Councillor Waru. I'll put that to the vote now and also ask for a show of hands, please. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you. That is carried. I would like to suggest that we take a short morning tea break now. It is 10 to 11 and that we return at 10 past 11, and then we will continue with our progress reports. Thank you. We are on page 47 of our agenda, and we are in our progress report. We're starting with corporate services. May I please have a mover and a seconder to receive this? That's moved by Councillor Kaifong, seconded by Councillor Brown. All those in favour to receive, please say aye. Aye. Thank you, and we'll hand over to Thomas to overview this report.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good morning, councillors. I guess I'll just cover two of the topics that might have been touched on the report, as some things have changed. So, with regards to the audit of the long-term plan, that is on track. What we are looking to do is provide an update with just some of the queries that have come through from audit in the last week, and provide an updated document to go to hot review early next week. And subject to obviously how the hearing go and the deliberations go, we remain on track with regards to having that piece of work completed and audited and for adoption in late June. On the second one, with regards to our district reval, as you're probably well aware, normally we have our reval completed quite a lot earlier than where we are. The Valuer General's office has been a little bit short-staffed, and we've even had the Valuer General working specifically on our reval, which is unusual, and we've welcomed his presence and his expertise into the mix. What he has found, though, is just some challenges with our valuer, and ours was a little bit delayed as well, but on the back of Tauranga City Council's delays. At the time of writing this report, we were not expecting our reval to have been signed off until the end of June. However, on late Friday afternoon, the Valuer General did sign off our district reval, and so we are now in the process of getting all the communication ready, looking to send out all letters to all 30,000 ratepayers in our district next week, and opening up the objections period. And so what that does mean is that because of sign-off, we do now have to use the new revals for the rating period for the next financial year. And what we'll do is we'll give you an update at the next committee or council meeting with regards to, in confidential, where the revals have gone and what the implications are, and just work through showing what the implications are with regards to our draft LTP and how we communicate those movements, if any, to our community as well before we finalise the LTP. So with that, happy to answer any questions the members may have.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Any questions? Councillor Waru.
Wait a minute, kia ora, Thomas. You must be reading my mind. I was thinking about that very topic there, the impacts around the revals. Do you see that in terms of the long-term plan, numbers-wise, where will that have most impact? Because I don't understand, percentages will still stay the same and all that kind of stuff? Or where do you see that having the most impact?
We haven't modelled what the impact is because we only just received the updated data earlier this week. And roughly, we've seen a number of the categories move at similar percentages, but one has been a bit of an outlier. And we're more than happy to talk you through what the implications of that are in a confidential session at this stage, just because we are aware that we are going into the objections period and probably wouldn't be appropriate to discuss that in open at the moment.
Kia ora, Thomas. Apologies for putting you in that position. Kia ora.
Thank you. Thomas, I do just have a question. It's on page 51, but it's around the project management. And great to see that our council hosted a regional project management event with people from across the region. But I also note that it says a process has been developed for categorising the criticality of projects to ensure they are operating as effectively as possible, and that there are 200 capital projects being assessed. Now, we understand as governance that we have some pretty major capital projects coming up. We usually see them through the Infrastructure and Environment Committee, but just wondering how we can will there be consideration of reporting through to our committees and our elected members once our major capital projects are either online or in development, and I think particularly of items such as the Rotorua Museum redevelopment and also wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you, Worship. That's, I guess, the intention of this process is to do that. So I think about 6-7 months ago, we went through a little bit of a similar exercise around with the Audit and Risk Committee, identifying what some of our key strategic projects were, and did a bit of a risk assessment on that. In the meantime, though, the team have worked on and revised our project management framework and methodology, and what we've done is, I guess, compared that against our whole program with the intention of, yes, making a much smaller group of projects, which are those key critical ones, and creating the reporting mechanisms in particular to the elected members in the community on their progress, how the risks are being managed against deliverables, against budget and time and those sorts of aspects.
Thank you. And our Chief Executive wants to also add to that.
Thank you, Your Worship. And just to add to that, this has been a particular focus of mine, being able to provide a framework that objectively identifies which of those projects that require an elevated level of treatment from the team, but then equally an elevated level of reporting to the appropriate committees, whether that be infrastructure and environment or wider council as may see fit. And this is an update on progress. In the course of the next month or two, you'll start to see some changes in that reporting coming to these committees and council. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And I do just want to congratulate the teams. I see on page 54 as well, there's been some great efficiencies in terms of handling the significant amount of emails that comes through, and that handling time has reduced, which I'm sure our customers, our residents who contact us would also appreciate that. So please just thank the team on our behalf. Councillor Barker.
Thank you, Worship. Actually, was just flowing on from that commentary. Actually, I noticed that your analysis of those emails and calls, there was a significant number that were regarding rates. Was this just the timing of when the snapshot was taken, or was it painting a picture of there's a lot of stuff going on in the rating department?
Rates is normally quite a high level of the queries that are coming in, so there's probably nothing abnormal in that aspect. So between rates and I think recycling and refuse, they seem to dominate the higher volume of the queries that seem to come in.
Yeah.
There appear to be no further questions. Thank you very much, Thomas. So I'll ask for a mover and a seconder now to receive the next report, Progress Report, Corporate Planning and Governance. That's moved by Councillor Waru, seconded by Councillor Wang. All those in favour to receive, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. And we'll hand over to Una to overview this report.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. I'm just going to take the report as read today. It's pretty thorough in terms of what the teams are underway with currently, so happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And this is page 55 to 61. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Your Worship. Media reporting, top 5 stories. Number 1, Lakeland Queen, decision-making process slap in the face of democracy. Have we done anything to correct the lack of democracy in the relevant protocol committee? The fact that those meetings are continuing to take place without agendas, not in public, no minutes available to the public, etc.
Councillor, we understand that you have a strong personal view against protocol committees.
I think the Ombudsman has a view about openness and transparency as well.
We are yet to receive that view from the Ombudsman.
I was referring to the October review. So I'll take that as a no, nothing's been changed in that respect. Okay.
This is simply reporting on what the top stories are. Those stories were not Rotorua Lakes Council stories.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
There appear to be no further questions. So we will move to our final progress report. And I'd like to invite Anita Morgan to the table. We thank you for being available to answer any questions, if there are any. We are on page 61 to 65. May I please have a mover and a seconder to receive the progress report Rotorua Partnership. That's moved by Councillor Wang, seconded by Councillor Kiriopa. All those in favour to receive, please say aye. Aye. Kia ora, Anita. We'll hand over to you to overview the report.
Tēnā koe te manukura, tēnā tātou te whare. Actually, I've just received an update on the first item in the report around the Matariki 2024 civic event. It appears now that that's not going to go ahead. And the issue around that is that the mātanga karakia, the men that are the experts in the field of carrying out the umukohukohu whetū, the hautapu, the ceremonial part of the event are actually not available. So we had set up a program to support Ngāti Whakaue to deliver the hautapu event, but unfortunately the experts in that field, there's been so much demand on them because there are other events that are being run in our community that are actually iwi driven. So what we do have though, and we have been in communication with our events team, is that there will be a drone display that will present the history and historical aspects of Matariki at the lakefront during the holiday period. Unfortunately, however, we won't be having the civic ceremony this year, so yes, not happy to report that this morning, but we will definitely work in conjunction with Ngāti Whakaue over the next 12 months to ensure that we have mechanisms in place and to ensure that does happen in 2025. And we have been also talking with Rotorua NZ, who are developing a value proposition around Matariki for Rotorua for 2025. That was always going to happen anyway, working in conjunction with them. So yeah, we will put our focuses on that from this point forward. Other than that, we take the report as read, and I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
Thank you very much, Anita, and a very disappointing update that we won't have a civic event. However, there will still be a number of great events available for Matariki, so thank you for that update. We have a question from Councillor Barker.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for the report, Anita. Just asking about the Te Aroha 101 workshop and just a little bit of information about how long, and obviously the people and organisational development team have had a taste of it already. Mm-hmm. Is it how many days and what sort of content? So
we're working to make it as easy, I guess, as possible for staff members and managers to allow release staff to be able to do that. So we're developing a series of workshops that are around about an hour and a half long. The first one, Te Aroha 101, looks at first of all, the township agreement, and then leading into the Te Aroha partnership agreement. And so we've had that workshop, we've made a few tweaks. The difficult part now is booking in staff teams, them finding the time to be able to set aside an hour and a half as a whole team to be able to attend the workshop. So we're talking with managers around how that might happen. And we are a little bit short on capacity at the moment without our manahautu. So as soon as we get a manahautu, we'll be able to kickstart that again and have some workshops for our staff. This really is to support not being able to run the noho marae as regularly as we used to be able to, because that was also kaupapa that was covered during the noho marae. So finding ways to be able to still deliver that training and development inside of work hours is what we're working towards now.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Maxwell.
Kia ora, thank you, Anita. On page 64, just a couple of partai here is the first one is that last bullet point there on the top, developing the resource guide to Te Aroha ceremonial protocols. When will that be finished and complete?
We're currently working on a video around pōhiri. We've developed a written resource for that. Basically, it was developed in conjunction with staff because there's been lots of inquiries about pōhiri. So as an internal development tool. However, through both the Sir Howard Morrison and the EEC promoting cultural aspects to people who are coming to our city and booking the venues, there has been lots of interest from those people who come to Rotorua now to understand what is their responsibility in terms of pōhiri. So the resource itself now will be extended to be an external facing resource as well. And so we've just got to work through how we, I guess, couch that information so that it's not so much applicable to our staff, but applicable to our clients now as well. Yeah. We've just this week set up an opportunity inside the chamber here to video. We did a mock pōhiri with our staff, the ones that do the haka pōhiri and who support the waiata groups. So that resource is now being developed by our marketing and comms team.
Excellent. Thank you. And the other one is on the 29th of April. There was a pōwhiri for a Jenarangi. Can you just tell us briefly how well that went?
Yeah, went extremely well. So our team travelled down to Wellington along with Andrew and the Mayor.
Good.
I think they would agree that she was received really well. They probably had about 60 people on their side. So, you know, it was a big event for them, and we, on our side, including Gina's whole family, her colleagues, her friends, and ourselves as representatives of Rotorua Lakes Council, probably about 30 people. Yeah, so yeah, went extremely well.
Thank you for that. Those are good things that we do in our department at Te Aomarangi. Thank you.
Yeah, well.
Thank you. We've got Councillor Waru, and then Kai Fong, and then Lee.
Tēnā koe kai taku kuia. Hoi anō ka haure au ki te reo pihi ki te kai pāma mai wei tahi i taku reo Māori. Thank you for your report. And just wanted to zoom in a bit on that matariki kaupapa. Was that the, I just want to make sure I heard right, it was our tohunga who are not available, that's wasn't right. Our pai in Ngāti Whakaue?
Yes, because the actual project around that was for them to run wānanga with descendants of Ngāti Whakaue in order for them to be able to deliver the actual service on the morning. However, they've become so inundated with work. I think since the declaration of the national holiday for Matariki and the raising awareness of the importance of Matariki and its significance, there's been demand right across the community, not just within our Māori communities, but even outside of Rotorua, for their service to support the development of other kai karakia to be able to do this work in the future.
Kapoe, thank you for that. Ko marama I nei, understand. Just want to talk about the Te Arawa 101 workshops. What would be the frequency of those workshops?
We originally talked about having 4 separate workshops, and so trying to deliver those right across the organisation within a year. Yeah, so that's still the desire, that 4 1.5 hour workshops would reach as many staff as possible over a year period, over a 12-month period.
So that would be a 6-hour commitment over a year?
Probably a little bit more, yeah.
So 8?
Yeah, say 8 over the whole year from each of the teams in council.
Oh, that seems to me to be quite achievable. Hoi anō ka waiho pēr ki tō tātou rangatira kia Andrew, mana tērā e whai atu, so I'm sure that could be done. But in this one last question, on this very matter too, it was, you know, we used to have the noho marae, which I know everybody that attended learnt something from or found it interesting and a good learning opportunity. If you were to choose to reinstate a noho marae as opposed to doing the 101 workshop, in your opinion, which one would be more effective?
I think the noho marae proved its effectiveness over the period of time that we ran them. The people that attended, which would have been 100 of our staff a year, 20 per wānanga, would have been able to attest to their the depth of their understanding of who Te Arawa is in this community, the te tiriti o Waitangi, all of those things, and also being able to develop implementation plans of how they might use that knowledge in their own daily work, BAU. So that was a 2-day wānanga, once a year for staff members. So I think in terms of being able to cover everything that we do in 2 days, as opposed to doing 1.5-hour workshops over a period of a year, 4 1.5-hour workshops, I think there was definitely value in the noho marae.
Kia ora, ai whakaaro mā tātou, something for us to think about. Kia ora, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kaifong.
Thank you, Chair. Tēnā koe, Anita. Just a question. Yesterday we had a really lovely staff pauhiri. Is it appropriate to have words for waiatas and for councillors to know what waiata are going to be sung? So it would be helpful for people like me that want to support but obviously are not that good at knowing the words to the waiata.
Probably putting them up on the screen might be a solution to that during the or just at certain points in the pauhiri. Would that be like enough for you? Or?
I think that, or even just knowing what they are in a little song, you know, the words to them, like we've done with the karakia that we've sung for the council meetings. Just I think that would also assist not only myself and other councillors, but also other staff that want to take part in the supporting our new staff members.
Sure, we could manage that, I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and kia ora Anita. Kei te pehe koe?
Kei te pai au, kei te pehe a koe.
Very good.
Aore I te pai.
I seem to recall we met on the noho marae, and
That's
appreciate
right.
your hospitality on that, and so nice to see you here again. And so a couple of questions. Te Arawa Partnership Agreement, Te Arawa 101, I thought we were in the process of rejigging the Te Arawa Partnership at the moment. So how does that relate to
Yes,
this?
fundamentally, I guess the Te Arawa Partnership will always have the same purpose, so what we deliver in the workshops will be relevant to that. In terms of an update on the progress around the partnership, I understand that Andrew and Jude Pani from Te Tatau o Te Arawa and the joint advisory group facilitator are currently reviewing that.
Okay. One of the things I noticed about the noho marae is it sort of skipped over the 1953 full and final settlement of the Fenton Agreement and then the 1993 full and final settlement of the Fenton Agreement. Is that going to be included going forward?
Point of order, are we dealing with the report or something else?
Yeah, sorry, there's a point of order on relevance. That's a detail that's not listed in the report, sorry, but if you would like further information, we're happy to get staff to provide that for you following this meeting. Do you have another question?
Of course. Going back to the page 64, developing a resource guide for Te Arawa ceremonial protocols for event organisers, a proactive step towards ensuring cultural protocols are upheld and respected. So does that mean if I'm organising a, I don't know, 500-person conference and I'm using the Energy Event Centre, is it a condition of hireage that we ensure that cultural protocols are upheld?
We might just get our Chief Executive to answer this one.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Worship. So Arnetta Morgan is not responsible for the development of policies for hiring the Energy Event Centre.
Okay.
So could we perhaps deal with those questions when someone responsible for the Energy Event Centre is present?
would you be able to answer on as Chief Executive?
Your question, if I understand correctly, is do we place requirements on cultural practices on the hiring of our venues? The answer is no.
Okay, thank you. Finally, 30 people, you say, went to Wellington. Could I ask for Gina's pohuri?
30, counting her family and friends and
right.
everyone else, yes.
Okay, so how many from your team?
3 of us, or 4 of us actually, and the Mayor and the CE.
Right. Was that, who was that paid? Who paid for
I'll
that?
get the Chief Executive to respond to this question.
Thank you, Worship. So a number of staff members happened to be in Wellington for other meetings and purposes at the same time that were co-organised. So a number of the staff travelled to attend several days worth of meetings and workshops as part of their professional development. I approved that travel. The Mayor and myself were in Wellington to meet ministers and conduct other business at the time as well. So, and a number of the other members representing Gina attended at their own cost.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I'm sure the ratepayers will be delighted to hear that. Thank you for the clarity. Thank you, Mayor Tapsell.
Thank you. There appear to be no further questions. Thank you very much, Anita. Ngā mihi nui ki a koe. We thank you for being present to answer these questions. So that concludes our public section. The only item that we do have in our confidential section are the minutes. So unless there are any corrections or discussion required, I might ask that we just move them. Thank you. So I have a mover. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Barker, that the confidential minutes of the council meeting held 24th of April 2024 be confirmed as a true and correct record. All those in favour, please say aye. Thank you. So that concludes our items on our agenda. To close our meeting today, I'd like to invite Councillor Kai Fong to say our karakia.
Tēnā koe, Chair. Kia ora tātou, kia whaki rei te tapu, kia wātia ai te ara, kia turu ki whakata ai, kia turu ki whakata ai, homi e hui e tā ki e.
Thank you everyone, and declare the meeting closed.